So yeah, I was just going through the 369. I put it in my my Discord in the 101, and I was actually reading this book, Project 369. Right, I give all credit where credit's due, and he was going through Nikola Tesla and everybody's thing with pretty much Nikola Tesla's whole science on the 369. So to just go into a little bit of info talking about the 369, I love your inputs to pray. You know what I'm saying? Because we're still learning, man. We're on our ascension to become masters, right? In the fields that we're studying right now.
I
And
call it, you know how they call Jesus, Buddha, they call them ascended masters. I call them descended masters.
fire. You know what I'm saying? We came in. We gotta make our claim to fame. We came in as fallen stars, and we gotta become superstars again. You feel me? We gotta get that knowledge in us. So, talking about the 3, 6, and the 9, right? Um, when you the beauty of the 3, 6, 9 is what they're called spiritual numbers. They don't exist in nature, right?
Absolutely.
They only exist in the metaphysics. They only exist in the celestial, or what you would call the mind. I guess you could say the mind plane, right? Because starting from one, right? If we go through the doubling process, one becomes two, two becomes four, right? This is the process of life, right? So I guess back in the day, Tesla, he was like, if everything started from one and one becomes two, and this is the process of life, isn't this also the tree of life and probably the circles, the tree of life in the Kabbalah and stuff too?
Yeah, so what I was just looking what Anthony and I just spent some time doing. So it starts with Keter, the crown. That's the first. If you pull up the light, it's the first Sephiroth, and Keter is the quality that aims to complete. So essentially, it's like the potential energy of everything starts at the top, Sephiroth, which is Keter, and
Mm-hmm.
then it goes to Chokmah, Chokmah, which is the desire to create at that point. So you have the potential energy to create, which is Keter. And I just learned this literally like today, so I'm not like any Kabbalah expert at all.
Right.
But Keter is the driving force behind the creation, and then Chokmah is the desire or the creative force. It's also known as the Kli, which directly translates to vessel to receive the blessing. So you can see as Keter is almost the driving force, maybe the masculine, and then Chokmah, sorry, it's not Chokmah, it's Chokmah, because the C isn't pronounced. So Chokmah is the vessel to hold the desire, the creative force, and then it goes to Bina, which is essentially the results, and then this is one modality. This is one path that I've
So
learned.
give me one
Just
second. Give me 1 second. So the first one you said primal energy, right? You said what was the name of it?
Keter.
Keter. So Keter would be associated with what, like the number one?
I don't know. I can't start conflating definitions yet, but you could see it as one because it's essentially the quality of aiming to complete. It's the crown. It's the start, and everything is descending from it.
Mm-hmm.
Going. It's like God. It's God, but it's the most pure quality of God, which is the create where the creation, like the creation, and then Hokmah is the desire, is the second line of the path, which is Hokmah, which is the desire to create, and is now the vessel to create.
Right, which
So
would be
then,
which would could be could, which
yeah,
we so if we're talking in numerology, right? Right, you have that
yeah,
first one. The name's escaping me, but you keep saying it. The one, which is
Keter, Keter,
Keter,
Keter,
right? So that's
and
one.
then
That's primal. That's sun, and then two is like mother, the ability to create. That would be like the number two being the moon. The sun and the moon make the number three, which is the result of creation, which would be like the number three, or in numerology that could be associated with Jupiter. With what you're
no,
saying,
Bina is actually ruled by Saturn. So Bina is the one that comes next. Is the three is ruled by Saturn, and it's essentially like so here Bina also is the understanding, and it's the idea of creation as well. It's the idea of the correction of creation. So it's like you something's created, So Keter is the highest possible state. It's the thought of creation. Chokmah is the wisdom, and Keter is the plan. Chokmah is the purpose, the light. Bina is the understanding, and it's the idea of the correction of the creation. Bina is the light. So the correction of the creation is akin to Saturn, but I'm not a Kabbalist yet. But these are just the first three Sephirah, which make up the Sephirah actually goes in. There's an upper three, and then there's a lower seven. So the upper three is just what I've learned about just today.
Well,
Is
let's
the
mark this. Let's mark this, and let's build on the Tesla principle. Let's build on the 369, but let's save that for a later video because I'd like to see if if we can draw the parallels between those definitions that you're given and see if we can find the similar definition in the Western and in other numerology forms because that one's an archaic Eastern form of
it's it's a lie. I've been seeing I see a lot of parallels already, but I'm not or even I'm not even I just started today, so I'm not even going to suppose anything.
Hey, listen, my boy, we don't got to be experts to try. You know what I'm saying? We can still try make our own assumptions and see if they prove to be true, right? Through trial and error, or you know what I'm saying? That's what I like about us, bro. We don't have to be experts, bro. We got brains too. You know what I'm saying? Um, we don't need a voucher. You know what I'm saying? Um, so, but we will. But after I guess we make those assumptions, I guess we'll try and validate it. Maybe try. I'll reach out to people that maybe that's what they're specialized in, and we'll see if we're right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
No, and it's already very interesting right now. I'm gonna keep studying with Anthony, and we're gonna get into it.
I got you. So going into this one this 369 thing here, I just made it real clear, right? I made it into like a little document on my Discord. You know what I'm saying, that people can, right, if they're subscribed to it, they can go down there and read the document so that they can kind of understand it and that they can be able to right. This is logos, right? When you read something, right? I want it to become rimas so that somebody without looking at it, they can say it back to you. That's when we remember it. It's rimas. So, right, starting with one multiplies into two, right? Two multiplies into four. When you double four, four turns into eight, and when you double eight,
Correct.
right, eight turns into 16, which breaks down into seven, right?
Yep.
And then you double, right? Of course, you're going to be doubling that 16. That's going to give you
30.
32, 5.
Yeah. So it goes 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 forever.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And of course, my boy Zapray, I mean, Zapray, I don't know if he knows, I mean, pretty sure he probably knows some of this or at least some of it, but most people don't know this, right? That when you do that process, there's three numbers that you keep on doing this process so you get to 32. 32 times 32 is 64. 64 takes you back to the 1, right? 64 times 64 is going to give you it's going to give you 128. 128 is going to give you the 2 again.
Uh,
It's at 11
it'd be
2.
60 plus. It'd be 64 times two because this is modal. This is not 64 times 64. Just to
Right. Oh,
clarify,
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. 64 times 2. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
it's you can find this naturally. Like for anyone listening, the actual natural modality this is doing is you can imagine the cells in your body are constantly dividing and becoming two. They're dividing again and becoming four, and
Hmm.
they're dividing over and over and over again. And it's either division or multiplication, however you see it. And it goes 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 when you get the digital root of each of these numbers forever. Yeah.
Yup. Yup. So never seen the 3 6 and the 9, right? So he went as so it talks about the enigmatic absence of the 3 6 and 9 throughout this sequence. A peculiar pattern emerges. The digital root never simplifies to 3 6 and 9, and digital root is a definition I want to start using because we just use it as simplification, but the digital root is just when you get the composite number. For example, 32. 32 breaks down to a 5. 23. 23, the digital root of 23 is 5, unless it's a master number, what most consider to be 11, 22, and 33. Those don't have digital roots, right? So it says the 3 6 and 9. The absence of the 3 6 and 9 in the natural progression of cellular multiplication hints at their existence beyond the physical. These numbers are thought to represent formless energy, consciousness, and light, elements that transcend our tangible reality. Um, and then while 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, and 5 are manifest in the physical sequence of life's growth, 3, 6, and 9 remain elusive, suggesting their role in the unseen aspects of the universe. So now, when we go to the 3 and the 6, right? If we were to take the same process and we were to do it with the 6, right? If we begin with 3 and we double it and we take 3 cells and we split all 3 cells, now we have 6 cells. We take 6 cells and we split all 6 cells, now we have 12 cells, right? And 12 breaks down to that 3 again, right? And now we take 12 cells and we split them in half, right? And now we have 24 cells. That's 6. Now 24, the digital root of 24 is 6, right? But now we take the 24 again and we multiply it by 2, and what do we get? We get 48. And the digital root of 48 is, once again, it's 12. Well, it's 3. It's 12, and then the digital root of 12 is 3. So with the 3 and the 6, it's a cyclical pattern. 3 6 3 6 3 6 3 6. Notably, 9 remains elusive, never appearing in the digital root between 3 and 6. It's a curious absence that sparks intrigue, right? The alternating pattern between the 3 and 6 underscores a cosmic balance of rhythmic dance that speaks to interconnectedness of certain numbers. The 9, right? The absence of the 9 from this sequence highlights its mystique, suggesting higher, perhaps more complex role in the universe's numerological fabric, right? So although the 3, 6, and the 9 have connection, the 9, for some reason, is on another dimension. Now, when we go to the 9, let's talk about the 9, right? And this is all here, man. I wrote it all down in my Discord, right? I made a subscription because I'm always learning new stuff, and I want people to learn with me. So I just figured, I have to kind of, you know, I have to put it behind, put it behind, because I want it to be serious people only. I don't want people just fucking off on these conversations. It's real stuff we're learning, right?
So,
And
Kings, I
go
want to
ahead.
expand on what you're saying with being present. So, another thing, use multiplication, but through addition, if you were to visually play out 1, 2, 4, 5, what if you're to group these into 2, they will create 3, 6, and 9. They will create 3 and 6. If you go 1, 2, that's 3. You go next is 4, 8 in the pattern. Is 4, 8 is 12, which is 3. Then after that is 5, 7, 7, 5, which is 12, which is 3. And if you go backwards, you start from the 1, you go back to the 1, you go to the 5. It's going to be 1, 5, which is 6. Then it's going to be 8. Then it's going to be 7, 8, which is 15, which is 6. Then it's going to be 4, 2, which is 6. And the digital roots are acquired there, where the 3, 6, and 9s are hidden. The 3, 6 is hidden throughout the addition of it, but the 9 is present there. It's present throughout the entire thing. The entire thing of 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 adds up to 27, which is 9. And there's some extreme importance with the fact that it adds up to 27, because what these numbers represent is they represent the material world. 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 represents the material world because it represents what I can see. I can see it there. It's my cells in my body. I'm looking at it. There it is. And it adds up to 27. 2 is the number of consciousness, and 7 is the number of thought. Everything from this physical world is a result of consciousness and thought. So all the physical entities, everything that you can see, all the material aspects, is the result of consciousness and thought, which is why 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 adding up to 27 is so important. And if you look at the 3, the 6, and the 9, the 3, the 6, and the 9 add up to 18. 8 is the number of harvest, and 1 is the number of beginnings. 1 is the number of action. 1 is the number of the start. It's the seed. So within the 3, 6, and the 9 adding up to 18, we can see the beginning of the action and the finishing of the harvest, and all adding up to 9, which is the picking of the fruit. So all these numbers are on their own circuit, adding up to 9 each way, but the material numbers have their own 9, and the spiritual numbers, the hidden numbers, the 1, the 18, the 3, 6, and the 9 have their own circuit of 9.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Let's go to the power in 9. and I love that. I love what you just said there. Um, I'm gonna have to keep going back over it and doing it, but I have to keep going back over it and understanding every level of what you said. 27 is the what composite is 27?
Which composite number would 27 be? Let's
29
see
is
if
the what? 29 is the what composite? It's the
29 is the 10th prime, so it's a prime number.
oh, it's the
For
prime.
anyone listening, composite number is the number that has more than one has more than two divisors, two more than two factors. A prime number is the number with only factors are one in itself. But the 27 would be, let's see, if 24 is the 14th, 25 is the 15th, 26 is the 16th, and 27 would be the 17th composite number.
27 is only divisible by its composite. It's only divisible by itself. So 26 is not a
Nine,
composite number.
three, 9 and 3. 27 is 9 times 3. Every
Oh, okay,
nine
okay.
cannot be a nine cannot be prime, no matter what, because every multiple of nine
Okay.
is multiplied by 9.
So
It's all
27.
multiple
So
in general.
27 is a prime.
No,
27.
27 is a composite number.
Okay, because a prime is only divisible by itself. That's
And
it.
1.
And one, right?
Correct.
Beautiful. I think math has some spirituality to it. It's just a matter of being able to look at it, because even if you see how every number is divisible by one, every number is created by one. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where you start to see the beauty is that it's right. These composite numbers, they have that primal energy because they're only divisible by themselves and that number one. What's up, brother Sarah? What's up, Sarah Sella, man? We're doing a little video right now for YouTube, just letting you know we're recording. But
All good.
yeah, all good, bro. Yeah, but let's talk about the number nine, right? Because
Correct.
this was his last sequence. So we see when we start the multiplication process or the multiply the divide timesing things by two, right? 3 and 6 have a pattern. 1, 2, 4, 8, 8, 7, 5. There's a pattern, and with 9, there's a pattern, right? So, unveiling the magic of 9. Start with 9, double it, 18, right? From there, the sequence unfolds. It's 18 times 2 is 36. 36 times 2 is 72. 72 times 2 is 144. 144 times 2 is 288, right? 288 times 2 is 576. The digital root of all these numbers is 9, right?
Yep.
So
9 is always 9.
it's always 9. So it's always 9 is on its own unit. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no unit that the 9 exists in besides itself. You know what I'm saying? The one will only get a digital root of those 4, 8, 7, and 5. The threes and the sixes will only ever get a unit of the 3 and the 6. The digital root will only come out to that 3 and the 6. But the 9 is on that one substrate that its digital root you know, if you start at 9 and you multiply it by 2, the digital root will forever be 9.
It'll be forever 9 no matter what you multiply. 9 is
True.
always 9. The digital root of 9 doesn't matter if I have 1,567. No, yeah, 1,500,000 doesn't matter. If all those numbers that I say add up to 9, it's a multiple of 9, no matter what. Doesn't matter what you do. You'll know no matter what. And the same thing goes for any multiples of 3. Every multiple of 3 adds up to a 3, no matter what. The digital root of every multiple of 3 is a 3. You can't say the same for 6 though. Not every multiple that's a 6 is a multiple of 3, but every digital root that's a 6 is a multiple. Sorry, it's not a multiple of 6, but is a multiple of 3. So 3 and 9 are always expressed in their digital roots as multiples.
Well, the digital root of 3 times 6 is 9.
Yeah, and multiple of 3. Nine at the end of the day is a multiple of three. Three and nine is also the second square if you really want to get into it like that. But nine is three times three as well. So there's three is the child and nine is the ending of the life of the child,
That's
the
pretty fire.
elder.
The
So
ending the I didn't get it. Ending the
The three is the child. Nine is the ending. Nine is the elder. The ending of the life until completely reached at 10.
so nine is like the last cycle.
Yeah, but I won't get to I won't tell you I won't say that it's the last life path number though if you want. It's not for that regard, but yeah, the last cycle like symbolically nine is the picking of the fruit. Eight is the harvest. Eight is the fruit. Eight is the fruit showing up, coming really getting out of the plant, and then the nine is the actual picking of that fruit.
you know it's interesting, Zapray, because I was actually watching a Manly P Hall video on Pythagoras. We were watching it in this server. You know what I'm saying? Maybe
Yeah,
next
I
time.
remember you
Yeah,
with
yeah, I
that.
remember you put it on. Maybe next time we watch it, maybe we'll watch it together so we could bounce back and forth ideas. But it was talking about how the number three is associated as the symbol of wisdom. It represents the triad. It represents moderation. It's the equal distance from all extremities. Wisdom is the equilibrium and the unity of the mind. No polarity dominates, and it says a triangle represents consciousness, intelligence, force, intelligence and force. I'm sorry. It says, um, let me see. It says a triangle represents all the units of man acting in perfect unison. It represents consciousness, intelligence, and force being expressed by man, right? The beauty of the number three. And then it was talking about the number four, and it was saying how the number four is it's called the little holy number, right? It's represented by the intellect, right? And it's a symbol of God. It's a little symbol of God, right? We know that seven represents K2, four represents Rahu, right? It's like the lower dimension of that God, right? The G and the D. The G, the seventh letter,
Yeah,
the D, the fourth letter, right? And right, it's also considered a holy number because if you add up all the numbers to four, it gives you the most powerful number that we know of, 10, right?
10. Yep, the fourth triangular number.
Exactly. It says Uranus, right? And right, four is represented by in Western astrology is represented by Uranus, right? And we know Uranus in the story of the Greek gods was the one who made the spirit, right? Uranus was the creator of the spirit, right? Four letter makes God's name. I mean, you say God, but if you put God's well, we know. All right, so it says four letters makes God's name, and we know in Hebrew, right? What do they call God? Yahweh. Isn't it YWH, YW? It's like the four letters, just the four letters that make up God's name. You ever heard of that?
HW,
Say it
I
again.
believe. YWHW, I believe is Yahweh.
YWHW. There you go. Yeah, and they said intellect rationalizes, right? So intellect leads to a state of remembering, right? Mind's in a limited state by intellect, right? Intellect aspires to attain wisdom, right? And intellect depends on wisdom. Wisdom doesn't depend on intellect. Wisdom is a constant. Intellect it's a choice. Some people you gotta acquire intellect because intellect is remembering. You know what I mean? And it's interesting because today's a 3-4 day. You know what I'm saying? It's a three. I believe it's a 3 day because it's the 24th, but universally it's a 4 day. So you have both of those constants. You have the intellect and the wisdom. And I found it interesting how they were calling the three wisdom, and but four was what they called the intellect, right? And they need each other. That's why they're right next to each other. You know what I mean? Um, so I found these things very, very, very interesting. I wanted to tell you about it, um, because it seems like all these different religions, right? Whether we're talking about Hebrew or we're talking about Pythagorean, right? They have these different philosophies on the numbers, you know? Um, and I'm just trying to connect the dots so that we can have a clearer understanding on it. So yeah, bro, I don't want to make this video too long. If there's anything that you really wanted to say about it, I'd love to hear it, and then
Well,
I'm probably gonna clip this.
as for the four being connected to the wisdom, the child is three, and if you really think about it, the child is the wisest of us all. If you have the ability to feel happy and feel unabated love, that's really true wisdom, because that's what people spend their entire lives trying to do, is love themselves, and the child has no issue doing that. But the four being four is the instance of the material world. The second dimension is where anything becomes material, and the second dimension is four directions. The second dimension is the flat plane that everything begins on. It all begins with the four, and that's where, to be in the material world is where intellect even starts to matter, where you have to have intelligence, you have to have mathematics, you have calculations, you have numbers, you have buildings, you have people, you have everything. So when the material first begins is at the four, is at the second dimension, the four, the dimension, die being the prefix two. You keep going. Every dimension is an instance of two more directions, and this four being intelligence definitely lines
Can I
up
can I
with the
add on to
fact
that? Can I add
that
on to that?
once the child is born, the child now has to be intelligent of its world around it.
And to add on to that, right? This is also the reason why we say things like today or tonight or tomorrow, or we say things like we measure time in one of its smaller measure, it's in time's smallest measurement. We name it in seconds, right? Not first, seconds, because it takes like you're saying, right? Everything originates from that second dimension,
Yep,
right? And without two, there's no such thing as conscious, right? You know what I'm saying?
absolutely. Time equals 47 as well. I believe it equals 47 and 20
47,
when you play.
11. Yeah, I put that on a tweet earlier. You saw? And 11, right? It takes two, right? 11 is really a two. There's no numbers after 10, you know?
Yeah.
Right? And
So I mean, 10 is one as well.
exactly. The beginning and the end, you know? So, it's mighty powerful, bro. And I just, I want to bring that level of understanding, right, to these numbers. You know what I'm saying? Because people got to learn how to think, not what to think. You know what I'm saying? Or just learn, people just telling them what to think, how to look at numbers, and they got to get their own stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because once you see that, right, then you see, oh, maybe I'm in an 11 personal year, right? You got to know what that number 11 means. You know what I'm saying? It's a new beginning. It's this is the beginning, right? From one becomes two, and then two becomes four. So like you say, and it's interesting too, because right, if two is the first physical plane, that's where consciousness originates from, right? That second dimension, right?
Yeah.
And then two becomes four. Well, what's skipped? Three, right?
Yeah.
And what do they call three? I believe three is what they call the mind plane, right? Is three the mind plane?
In what regard? I call the day you're born the mind plane, but I don't know for three is, I don't know if maybe three you can see as mental. You have the third eye,
Right.
which is really the first eye, but
Mm.
uh,
I see what you're
I
saying, but I just look at it like this. Look at it like this. Wisdom, right? Three is represented by wisdom, right? And wisdom is what bridges the second and the fourth dimension, right? The mind connects the body and the spirit, right? That's the purpose of the mind, to align the forces. You see what I'm saying? So that third dimension, the three, the six, the nine, right? These are only exist in the imaginary plane. They only exist in the spiritual plane. They haven't the only the one, the two, the five, the eight, and the I mean the eight, the seven, and the five, right? They're in the physical plane. But that three plane, right, is what gives you, and this is why they said wisdom supersedes intellect. Because wisdom is represented by the number three, intellect is represented by the number four, and the wisdom supersedes intellect because wisdom always exists, right? Whether or not people want to realize that the mind is the ability to understand the forces at play, right? And me and you know, it's interesting. We argue with people with intellect all day long, and they don't believe in anything metaphysical, spiritual. They don't believe in intuition. They don't believe in all those things. That's because they don't got the wisdom yet. You know what I'm saying? Intellect is dealing with remembering. Wisdom is dealing with knowing that more exists. You know, knowing that what's physical is not all that exists. So I find it interesting, you know, when you talk about that two and the four and you say the happiest one is the child. Why is the happiest one the child? Because the child has the wisdom to know that what's real, there's more than just what's real. You know what I'm saying? That the child's in a dream state. The child's in, I believe, children until they're 7 year old. I believe they're in is it theta state or alpha state? It's
Yeah,
some
they're in theta mode. So
yeah.
they hit seven. That's why seven is the number of pain. Seven is the number of pain because what comes after what even begins pain is the six. Six is the start of pain because six is the number of responsibility and balance. And the second balance is needed in this constant in this like linear movement of the child hits the material world, the four. Now the child needs to adapt and change to its environment in the five, and then when it hits the six, now it has responsibility. And after gaining responsibility, gaining balance, and having to deal with these things, these heavy feelings, then comes the seven, which is the self reflection of pain. And either their pain is then harvested with the eight, and the harvest is either good or the harvest is negative. And you know, pain doesn't always have to come with the seven, but seven is pain. Seven is the knowing. Seven is the intelligence. Seven is isolation. Seven is depression. Seven is the self. And whether you deem the self to be painful or you deem it to be joyous is up to you. But the child, when it reaches the six, and the six is the actual instance of the third dimension where material can exist because the third dimension is six directions, and that's where responsibility and balance is first needed. You can't you know the second dimension, there actually is no balance required. You're just flat. But when you reach the third dimension, and you finally have the six directions, that's where you need balance. And through balance comes the ability to fall or the ability to stand up. And when you get on the ground, that's where you know your mind takes over. And seven is the thought. Seven is the theta mode where everything's been finished downloading. So either what you got was pain or what you got was pleasure. And both start with P, the 16th letter.
And P is the power to wield. P yields life, right? Anytime you're talking about something powerful, and when I'm saying powerful, right, I'm talking about something that wields life, right? People wield life, right?
Person,
Person,
perception.
perception. Um, you know, even if you look at our sexual organs, the penis, you know, starts with a P. The placenta, you know what I'm saying?
And
Um, you know, paper. You know, this you write on, you manifest on paper. Pen, you know what I'm saying? Anything that wields any power. Pope, Papa, you know, peace, you know, all these things, right? That letter P, that's seven.
the pi-
Pineal gland, you know, potential, you know what I'm saying? Perspective, right?
yep.
All these things, that's the power of P. You know, you have the G and the P, you know, or you could say the D and the P. You could say yeah, you have the G and the P, or you could say the D. What's the 13th letter? The 13th letter is the M,
Yep.
right?
Correct.
So, And it's interesting too because I like Vedic, and in Vedic, when they're looking at your planets, that K2 is going to show you where things are going to happen, right? And I would like to go into this point too. I know I was going to cut the video, but right now we're spitting. When you look at that, when you look at the what's it called? When you look at the seven, you look at the K2. People don't. This is what people don't understand about money and spirituality, bro. Spirituality doesn't come in great times. Spirituality doesn't come when you're doing your best. Spirituality comes when K2 comes knock you on your ass. Because K2, right? And even if you also want to think about this, the 13th card of the major arcana is death. 13-4, right? The little god number. The 4, the intellect, right? And it's interesting because you have intellect and you have pain, right? Intellect is represented by that number 4, and like you're saying, number 7 is a number of pain. I saw you make that post today that this guy, I think he won $340 million, and you said that 340 equals up to a 7, and that's a very unlucky number, and he didn't get a cash out. They didn't cash out his money or whatever. It's funny the way you said that, but
I didn't say that. That wasn't me.
oh, that wasn't you. It was somebody else. It was on Twitter though. The dude won $340 million. He went there to go collect his money. He had the right ticket and everything, and they told him, "Sorry, we put out the wrong number. We put out the wrong ad. It wasn't supposed to go to you." And now he's suing them. But it's interesting, just like the association with the number 7, because it was 340 million. Digital root.
34, two presidents that were assassinated were life path wars. There's some interesting stuff happening with the 34.
I believe it. The 3 and the 4, the wisdom and the intellect.
Yeah, the last public execution of all time in France, I believe, was on a 34 date numerology as well.
Ooh.
And then the guillotine. Guillotine equals starts with the 7th letter G.
Right.
I can look that up.
And the 34th letter would be the capital G.
Yeah, 33 actually.
With 33. Oh, what would be the? You should.
34th would be H.
Oh.
So the last public execution. Oh, in the U.S. No, not in the U.S. In general. The last. Okay, yeah. So it was apparently it was Kentucky. The last public execution in America. This is not the one I saw, but using the guillotine. This might be interesting. It was on August 14th, 1936. So that would be a 19 plus a 5, which is 24, plus 8, 24. That'd be a 32. Not that's not the one I was looking at, but that's just interesting to know in general. By guillotine. Yep, it was so the last person to be executed by government via guillotine was on the 10th of September, 1977. 1977 adds up to 24. And then it becomes 25 when you add the 1 from the September, and then you add 9, it becomes 34. So the last public execution to ever happen was in France on a 34 date numerology. So there's some interesting stuff with 34, and then every president that's been assassinated has had 7 associated with it. The 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, was assassinated, and then the 25th president, who is the 25th president? President also starts with the 16th letter P. If you want to get into that,
the P.
The 25th president was William McKinley. William McKinley was assassinated, and so 25 is 7, 16 Abraham Lincoln is 7. Then John F. Kennedy is a life path 34, and then James Garfield is a life path 34.
I wonder where those 34 ranked upon those chess players that we were looking at on Twitter, the compound numbers. But I do find it interesting, with that number 7, like we were talking about.
Pain.
There you go. With that, it's very interesting because, right, you have the little G, and then you have the little holy number, the 4, and then you have the higher holy number, the 7, right? And it's funny that number 4, right, as that Pythagorean was talking about, Manly P. Hall, the 4 represents the intellect, but what does the 7 represent? The analyst.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
so on the fourth day, sun, the moon, and the stars were created by God biblically.
On the fourth
If
day?
you're,
On the fourth day.
yeah, yeah, God created the sun, the moon, and the stars.
And you know why he gave us the sun, the moon, and the stars, right? It was our only way to help. It was the only way to track time.
And also the astrology, the sun, the moon, and the stars are the first. They're a big issue. They're a big instance of as well as astrology. The writer of the Earth book, the writer of the book on Earth. Astrology is a masculine modality, in my opinion, and the Earth being a feminine modality is being affected by the astrological components basically imprinting upon the Earth and imprinting upon us. And the fact that the fourth day was used to create something that imprints upon us, gives us intelligence, gives us awareness, gives us all our things. Four is the number of building, and these are aspects of building: the sun, the moon, and the stars. They're the aspects of.
No, I mean, well, you're. I mean, 100%. I find value in what you just said because, the light is a masculine principle. Darkness is a feminine principle, right? The stars are manifested out of darkness. You know, the dark matter in between the stars is what give them the ability to shine. So when you're talking about the stars, you are talking about something that's masculine because light is masculine, just like the sun. The sun is masculine and it's shining light into the moon, and the moon is helping manifest the life on Earth. So
Yeah,
I agree. I
stars
agree with you
will
say.
start with the 19th letter S as well, which is one.
Right. So S. Okay, I got you. Interesting. So
Sound is the creation of everything, though. Sound starts with the 19th letter S. So God spoke, started with speak, spoke, starts with the 19th letter S. Everything into existence.
now, what about the word? The word starts with the W. W is the 23rd
Third,
letter.
23rd letter, yeah.
Right. So, what's so significant about that five? Because the nine, the five, and the one, I believe they're all on the, in Vedic astrology, they say the nine, the five, and the one is the past, present, and the future.
The 9, the 5, and the 1.
Yeah. They're called the past, the present, and the future. You
I would
know?
have definitely agree with 5 being the president. 5, absolutely the fucking president.
Right.
9 being the future. Yeah, I could 9 be in the future. I see more 8 as the future. 8, I see 8. What 8 does very well, 8 exists in the past and the future at all times. Like from a numerical point, like where you like numerology wise, like if you actually look at people who are life path 8s and you listen to like what they think about how they think, they are very much in the past and the future. And then the one being the past. I mean, you can see that like 5 being in the middle, 5 being the present, the one all the way on the opposite polarity starting. But I feel like the 1 9 are interchangeable because who is to really say where everything starts from? Because nine is every number wrapped in a one. And I always say that 9 is the first number because every other number has to come from 9. So I usually like the actual way I would express it is like 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and they're all wrapped inside of the 9. But you can see, is 9 the present or is 1 the pre? No, is 1 is 9 the future or is 1 the future? And I think they both are interchangeable in a big way.
Yeah. Well, I see eight as it's funny. Things rhyme because they probably rhyme because they make sense. But, or maybe, some things, not all things, but I see eight as the gate. You know what I mean? Eight is the gate to nine. Nine is the door to regeneration. You know what I'm saying? And, right, so, I've heard different people. Some people say that they believe that one is the first life path and nine is the last one, right? Some people believe, right? Gary says that the ages, the precession of the equinox goes backwards, right? We started off in the age of Aries. From the age of Aries, we were a bunch of, right? The age of Aries is where we started. We were a bunch of warmongering people, right? Then we went to the age of Pisces. We're all religious, and now we're in the age of Aquarius. We're in the age of information. So Gary thinks that the life path goes from 9, 8, 7, 6. I've heard him speculate that, of course. Of course, most of his stuff is NDA, so I don't really know. But um, when you're looking at that, right now we're talking about either eight is the gate, right? If you start from the one life path, right? If this is the because some people say the life path is the course of life, the the course of life that you're in, or the level. I don't know if you've heard that. So if one's the door, right? Then eight is the gate, because once you get to nine, that's the final lesson, right? And if nine is the door, then eight is the gate before you start descending into the, you know, and it's interesting, bro. You know, I'm begged to be asked the question. You know what I'm saying? Because they said the cat curiosity didn't kill the cat; it gave the cat nine lives, right? Um, the nine schools of life. You know what I'm saying? So I think is I don't know if we're gonna get the answer. I don't know if we're gonna get the answer tonight when we're gonna get the answer, but I would like to know that, right? Because people do believe in reincarnation, they do believe in cycles, and I'm still pondering the question if it starts from nine and goes to one, or if it starts at one and goes to nine, or is it just like a fucking lottery ticket?
I don't think it starts at anything because at the end of the day, everything is simultaneously happening all at once. And to suppose that order doesn't make sense from a point of view of infinity, where when you get outside of this body, nothing is there's no linear time. So all lives are not past lives or future lives, they're all simultaneous lives existing at the same time at all points. If I can literally, the moment that happened 5 minutes ago is still happening as we speak. My attention is just brought right here. So when you really want to get into, is this the last life? Is this the first life? I don't think that it's a valid question or a valid thing, because even when you get into, is a nine life path the last life, or is a one life path the last life, there's several versions of one. There's a 10, there's a 19, there's a 28, there's a 37, a 46, 55. Or with nine, there's a 9, a 27, a 36, a 45, a 54. Which life path is the last one? Which version is the last one? And you can also be born on the 9th. You can be born on the 18th. You can be born on the 27th. Which version of nine ends your life? Ends your life as a soul? Which one does it?
But here's my thing. Here's my thing. There's no end, right? There's only ascension.
Absolutely.
There's only ascension, right? Right now we're in the third dimension, right? And many people are going to keep coming back. I mean, this is my assertion, my assumption, right? That many people are going to, from different books that I've read and stuff, many people are going to keep coming back to this third dimension. The goal is to get to the fourth dimension, right? What's the nine life paths goal? To learn to give, be a humanitarian, learn being selfless. Being selfless is the highest form of a human being, to a degree, right? And that's the
I
nine.
will
That's the nine.
that one.
Say what?
I'll disagree with that being the lesson of the nine.
All right. What do you think?
And I'll say this why, because this is what I see most nines do, and this is the reason why a lot of them fail their incarnations, is because they will spend their entire life assisting people, and they will never assist themselves. I will see them spend their entire life being assistful to other people constantly, over and over and over again, to the point where they never face themselves, because they're never able to build the muscle inside of them to look at themselves and maybe devise that they are the ones who need to be worked on and not everyone else around them. So really, the lesson of the nine is, yes, like being selfless, but but you need to learn how to elevate the self before you can even begin to be selfless, because they are trying to jump ahead in the order and help everyone before they ever even help themselves. And they will pretend that they've solved everything because they can solve everyone else's problems, but they will be in complete avoidance of themselves. And complete selflessness is actually a negative quality. If you have complete selflessness, then you are not a person. You are just everyone else's person that they need you to be. And this is why a lot of nines will fail their incarnation, because they're not able to be the person that they need themselves to be. So I don't think that it's their lesson to learn complete selflessness. It is a lesson to learn how to be selfless, but first by being selfless and selfish within yourself so that you can build yourself up. So then you can finally serve people. If you look at the best life path nines in history, or the best life path nines in general, they are people who have learned to assist themselves. They're not people that have just tirelessly thrown themselves at other people, because that's how I see a lot of life paths die. A lot of nines die like that. They die never having accomplished anything because all they did was accomplish things for other people. And I don't think there's any level up in that. I think that's a failed incarnation.
And I do, and I agree with you. I agree with your premise. Yeah, I think I talked in completions. I talked in self. You're right. Complete selflessness is not balance. Every life path still has to establish that balance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I would just say that for the nine life path, right? Nine is also ruled by Mars.
Yep.
Mars, right? Anytime you're saying things like the Marshal or an Aryan, right? They have a very domineering energy, and more important than probably any other life path, right? If they don't get their ego in check, they are these are the Henry Heimlers, these are the Joseph Stalins. You know what I'm saying? These, and that's why I say, to a degree, selflessness, because I'm not saying that they should lose their identity. You know what I'm saying? But a nine has the ability to manipulate all circumstances. You know, and I think that's why it's like that has to be. I believe that's the theme of the nine life path, because a positive nine is a catalyst. A destructive nine is the same thing for the opposite agenda. You know what I mean? And it's almost like in Chinese zodiac they say the oxes are the most likely ones to be dictators, right? So you'd probably want your ox to be more of a kind-hearted person, right, rather than to be somebody that's manipulative, right, or somebody that's gonna be more manipulative for the wrong reasons. You know what I'm saying? Um, so that's no, and I completely understand what you're saying. I see a lot more nines in my life have too big of egos
I
than
see
what
the opposite.
than what you're
Mine.
saying. Yeah, because you're probably dealing with people. I feel like you're probably dealing with maybe you're doing a lot of readings, and you're dealing with people that, like, you know what I'm saying, are coming from you from everywhere in life, and I can see what you're saying, where people use them for their own agendas. That happens a lot
Yeah.
too. I know what you're saying with that one, where people are like, I see what you have, and people are manipulating them, right? Yeah,
The nine attracts lead, because all numbers come from nine. The nine is the mother and the father. So what the nine subconsciously feels is that it needs to take care of all the other numbers. And in this other opposite opposing polarity, since nine is all the other numbers, the nine can also feel like, I don't need to take care of anyone. I have everything. I have everything. I don't need you. I don't need you. Life. I have everything. And there's a that either they have their entire head filled with themselves, or they have their entire head filled with everyone else, because nine contains all the numbers. It's either a glass completely full, or a glass that's completely full, that's always pouring. Someone who doesn't want to pour, or someone who's always pouring. And that's what the nine is constantly having to deal with. And I attract and I see most nines, and maybe that's because that's the aspect of nine that I have with Gabriel. It's because of that aspect. But I see most nines that attract towards me are people that are willing to give themselves away over and over and over and over. And there are a lot of nines who will become that bitterness, who will become that egoic powerhouse that just bashes through everyone after never receiving anything back. So they feel like they have to keep it all to themselves, because they've just seen a lot of horrible things happen to them. A lot of nines, because nine is the number of maturity, it's the last thing. It's maturing. They have to become and throw away the child. They have to throw away the child. The 9 is the 3 and the 6. 3 is the child and 6 is responsibility. They get both of them at the same time. But often they hit the 6 before it's they can even experience the 3 within these 9s. So it builds a supremely bitter person if they have an imbalanced number in the mode of that version of 9 where they're being super selfish, they're being super egoic. It's there's just a hurt child behind it that acts that way. One child wants to fight back from the injustices, and the other child just wants to constantly put the broken pieces together.
Powerful. That's powerful. Yo, you know what, Zapray? I'm gonna I'm gonna cut this one. You know what I'm saying, and give them a little something for the next time because we have a lot more that we could build on. We started talking about the 3, 6, and the 9, and now we're talking about the 3 and the 6, and we're giving sauce on the 4. And but we got another one coming up. I don't want to make it too long. People's attention spans are short, but I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Um, Me and Zapray got a
Hell
lot
yeah.
more coming. All right,
Hell yeah.
peace, brother.